Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you my back to school reading recommendations. So it's crazy to think that we are going full swing into school season. It's going to be looking a little bit different this year because of COVID, but nevertheless, besides, I only have one class and then I'm done with classes forever. So I just have one class that I need to, just, persevere through, and then I'll be done forever. So these are books. I've compiled 5 books that I think have that school atmosphere, because although we may not be physically in school depending on your situation, these can give us these school vibes. So some of these do take place in a school setting. The other ones are kind of, I like to see everyone as students of life, so they have some life, elements in them, so that's how I've kind of incorporated that. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting out first, this was a reread for me. I read this series when I was going into grade 7, and the last book came out when I was in university. So I definitely grew up with this series, but I feel like the school setting in here is really fun, and just for me it was super nostalgia, and it is the Galaga Girls series by Ali Carter. As I said, I reread this for the first time as an adult, and I have a whole vlog on this experience, and I can link it up in the cards and down below. But essentially this follows 3 girls who are spies, and they go to spy school, and it kind of takes off from there. The first 2 are very much kind of juvenile, I want to say, but the 3rd book is very much where the kind of, overarching main plot really kicks in, and it turns from, like a YA, happy-go-lucky book to something more complex that deals with more dark themes. So it definitely grows up with you. If you grew up with the series, it kind of grows with the audience. So I highly recommend. The first one's not my favorite, but after the second one, that's where it's like. But the school setting in here, it takes place in a mansion that was built in the 1850s, and there's a lot of secret passageways. Just the atmosphere of the school is just so cool. It's very much like a very if Hogwarts was a school for spies, this would be the place. But I love it. I've never, it has that boarding school feel and all that with the uniform, so definitely has that school, get you right back into the feeling of school. So this one isn't necessarily a school environment. It's more of the main character kind of learning and, growing and trying to, grow into the role she's kind of been put into. And it is the 2nd book in the Chronicles of the One trilogy by Nora Roberts, the 2nd one being Of Blood and Bone. So this is really kind of fitting. So it follows, in present day, there is this virus that goes around that wipes out 2/3 of the world's population, and those that are immune to this virus are those who have some sort of magical component to them. So you can see how that can cause some anarchy for the people that don't have any magical powers. That one is very, the first book is very much setting up the world kind of post-virus, and this follows one of the character who's kind of, there's a prophecy, and she's kind of the one who's kind of putting the end to the dark magic that's going on. And this one deals with her kind of learning about her role, learning about her magic and all of that, and it was super fun. The 2nd one is definitely my favorite of the trilogy, but it's so good. Just that, she's learning magic in the forest, and she has to go off into this isolated cabin with the sorcerer teacher, and I loved it. This is probably one of my favorite trilogies of all times. It's really good. It really shows difference between light and dark magic, but this one is where we kind of see Fallon kind of learning her magic, learning who she is, and then how she comes to term with the position and the responsibility that comes along with that position. So yeah, just even though it's not technically school, she was learning over the course of this book, so I kind of threw it in there. Next, this is a university setting, and it is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is a very good book to read in October, November, when it's cold out, and it basically follows this girl who's been tasked with taking, she is the one that oversees all of the occult groups at Yale, and so it kind of follows, there's some dark magic in here, and I think for this one you just need to kind of go into it blind. But I really love the fantasy atmosphere and the fantasy kind of genre thrown into a modern day university, especially Yale. I think it just totally paints the picture. Like I think they even have like a map of all of the like Yale University and all that. I think is really cool. I like totally just think of Gilmore Girls when I just think of Yale, so I had that in my mind. But just the school setting in here, dealing with also like a cult and, you know, worshiping and all that is really interesting. And I think I like too that this is kind of like an adult you know, fantasy novel, so it deals more with a university setting, but it's done so in a mature, like more, it's geared toward an older audience who've, you know, are currently in university or, you know, have already passed the university age. But it's just really creepy and spooky, and just like all this going on within like a modern day university environment, I think is just really fun. So this one deals with the, like, you know, kindergarten, grade 1, you know, age group in terms of school, but it's also, you know, satirical on just, you know, how, you know, crazy parents can get and all that. And it is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. I read this when it first came out a long time ago, and I think I also watched the TV show, and the TV show is really good. But what I really like about this is it talks about, it's almost like a satire in the sense of how parents just get so competitive with their kids, and just like the politics of the parents, and just, you know, different grades and all that, or even like school settings, is just really interesting. And I think this book does a really good job at highlighting like that politics and just, you know, how stupid it is basically. So I really appreciate that. But on top of the, you know, the satire of this, it also deals with, like, the book opens up, there's a murder that has taken place. We don't know who is murdered, but we do get like eye count of witnesses, like you know, statements of people who like witnessed what was going on, and some of them are truth, some of them are lies throughout the story as the story progresses to the night the murder took place. And yeah, this book was so good. I read it like when it first came out, I want to say 2014, 2015, and it's really good. The TV show is also really good as well, so highly recommend it. And I think it's just interesting how it just highlights just like the stupid politics of, you know, parents with school. So this one's kind of a double whammy, as it does follow this one character in school, but I feel like she is also a student of life in this, especially with some of the obstacles she has to deal with. And it is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is her newest release. She has a new one coming out, I think, in February 2021, and I'm so excited. But basically the premise of this, it follows this girl whose dad came back from the Vietnam War completely changed, and he kind of has some what we now know as PTSD. So he thinks that in order to solve all of the problems in his life, he and his family need to move to Alaska. So they basically uproot their life, drive to Alaska, and live out there. But this book kind of uses the Alaskan wilderness, and kind of the Great Alone is what this state of Alaska is called, is used as basically a metaphor for this girl's, you know, experience going to Alaska with her family. It deals with domestic violence and other, you know, very difficult topics in here. So she is definitely very much a student of life in this one, and this book is just very beautiful. It's totally atmospheric. I can just see the Alaskan like environment and world that she's living in, and how it's, you know, daytime basically all the time, or all dark. Like, I think the use of Alaska as kind of a metaphor for this character's experience and like what she's going through in life was really well done. It's so good, definitely worth all the hype. I cannot recommend this book enough, but I think this is definitely one because it deals with, you know, dark subject matter and, you know, the complexities of family dynamics. I think this is a very good example of being a student of life. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you have for recommendations for going back to school and all that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.